direction of my show. Some of the things that I'm not pleased with in general, with the format, my show, it's nothing with the network, of course. It's just some things that have been bugging me. And 2 weeks ago I got it all out, but I got a little more to say. But I'm not going to do that right now. Tonight it's all about Pisces. Happy birthday, Pisces. I hope all of you out there, whether you've had your birthday or are getting ready to have your birthday, are going to have an awesome birthday. So happy birthday to all of you. A couple of notes before I get started on the Pisces forecast, and that is, I have a couple of dates of caution here that I want to go over. And then, let's see, March 16th, 17th, and 18th. This is a Uranic moon phase, as I call it. And what this means is anything that has to do with a sudden release of energy, explosions, unfortunately earthquakes, volcanoes, plane disasters, any kind of aeronautics, NASA. These are all common under this phase. This is also weird and bizarre news that'll make headlines. This is all very common under this phase, especially in a waning moon, and we are in the waning moon. So, I wouldn't get my ass on a plane anytime soon, unless it's the new moon on the 20th. But if you're getting ready to make your plans for vacation for the summer, wait till the 20th. Trust me on this. It'll save your life. Pisces. What an incredible sign you guys are. You're the last sign of the zodiac, meaning you are the most ancient sign of the zodiac, next to a couple of other signs, usually Capricorn for earth, Aquarius for air, Pisces for water, and Sagittarius for fire. These are the four ancients in the zodiac, and they are at the head of the zodiac. So, like Aries is the child of the zodiac. Taurus would be the child of the zodiac in the signs of earth signs. But you are the 12th house. 12th house rules your subconscious. And Pisces in general can be very intuitive people. It's a natural born gift. You guys have intuition in spades. One thing Pisces downside is, and not all of you, but I've noticed this with some, they get easily addicted to chemicals, alcohol, drugs, things like that. Not all Pisces, but some are very prone to it. You have gained all your strengths and all your weaknesses of all the signs in the zodiac with this sign. Like I said, you're the 12th sign of the zodiac. Now, this is a terminal sign, and don't freak out, but it doesn't mean what it sounds like. Hear me out first. When someone is born a Pisces, this usually means you have lived many incarnations through life, through the ages. Whether you out there believe in reincarnation or not, that's your choice. But you guys have lived many incarnations, and usually this is the last life on this level of consciousness, so to speak, the 12th house. It doesn't mean you can't reincarnate again, but you've lived so many lifetimes that it's time for you to become a bright, shining star, as I call it. In Greek mythology, the ruler is Poseidon, and he is the lord of the sea, and he is the ruler of all oceans, and of course you are a water sign. Your ruling planet is Neptune. Obviously your animal would be the ruler of the fish. Your country, and this, I want you guys to think about this for a minute. Just think about this for a minute. Your ruling country for Pisces is the Middle East. And it's not an accident that Christians chose the fish as the sign of Christianity. Pisces. All religions were birthed in the Middle East. Think about that. Judaism, Christianity, the Muslim religion, all birthed in the Middle East, which means, and I'll get into this a little later, when that dragon universal energy moves and the tail moves into Pisces, the Middle East it's going to hit the fan between August 19th of 2015 and November of 2017. You are going to see some crazy stuff happen in that country. If you think it's crazy now, you ain't seen nothing yet. But Pisces, your ruling country is the Middle East. Your energy is artistic, it's dreamy, it can be elusive and deceptive at times, and sometimes the Pisces in general are prone to being lethargic. Not all, but some. Your color is a dark blue. Your body part, obviously, is the feet. And your mineral is the oil industry. Oil, crude oil, and I guess producing things like plastic. Your personality trait is the believer, and you're dreamy. You guys can dream the most incredible dreams. You also are very intuitive. And for the Pisces that are able to swim towards the light and not be deceived by religion or any of the other things that infiltrate the Pisces, you will soar to great heights. Now, you have to understand with this sign, your soul is enslaved to swim upstream towards your birthplace, and that is way up there in the stars. But 2,000 plus years of religious poisoning, fear, guilt, the past, uncontrolled imagination, and the negative fish swimming downstream has made this a very bad situation for many. I'm not just referring to Pisces right now. Let's give you a perfect example of a deceiving Neptunian soul, and I'm going to probably piss off a great many of you right now, and I don't care. It's the truth, and you'll see it in time. Joel Osteen. Joel Osteen is a Pisces. Joel Osteen is a very Neptunian soul. How do I say this? He's deceitful. And I don't care what you say. You could say all the things you want about him. Oh, he's this, he's that. He's quote scripture. This doesn't matter. You live in a $10.5 million home that you bought on the backs of these God-fearing people. If you really want to help humanity and help the masses, live in a simpler home and open up a homeless shelter. You could still preach your ministry, but do something that helps fellow man. That is my issue with Joel Osteen. And the time will come in the next 2 years, you will see him make headlines, and not in a good way. I've said it first, so remember. Now, you have to understand, too, every 2,000 years, our planet shifts its sign. So we have been living for 2,000 years under a Pisces rule. This is the birth of the church, Catholicism, the birth of religion. Now, this energy has shifted, and it shifted about the year 1945. Now, remember, I'm not a modern astrologer, so I am quoting the divine method of astrology, and there are many modern astrologers that are going to say, well, that's not true. The new age of Aquarius changed on 12/21/12. For modern astrology, yes, it did, but not for the Nostradamus method of astrology. It changed in 1945, and you could see that by certain things that took place. We had the Roswell incident. We had the atomic bomb. This is all the new age of Aquarius. Aquarius does rule nuclear war, nuclear weapons, uranium. We are in the new age of Aquarius. The dying Pisces age is dying, but it's going out like a lion. In 1,000 years from now, if mankind does not destroy himself, we will probably be working side by side, humans and ETs. That is only if man does not destroy himself, or if ETs step in and do something to save the planet. And not all ETs are good. There are bad ones as well, and that's a topic for a whole other show. But Pisces, you are a karmic sign. just like your counterpart in the zodiac, Capricorn, these two signs, Pisces and Capricorn, will always face karma swift and heavy, whether you've done good or whether you've done bad. So my best advice to you, Pisces, I tell all my Capricorn brothers and sisters, is this. If you do good, good will come back. Most people I know are good people, so you don't have to worry about that. Let's see. Pisces also rules our subconscious. It rules our dreams. It rules all chemicals. We name it. Drugs, alcohol, gas. Neptune, the ruler of the planet, the ruler of your sign, Neptune, the planet. This rules depression, imagination. It rules hospitals, asylums. It rules jails. Also rules all forms of religion, whether they're synagogues or temples or churches. It controls religion. It also rules exotic places. It rules cults. It rules every part of body of water, oceans. It does rule mysticism as well. And it also dwells right there in your 12th house of your subconscious, which can either benefit you or hinder you, depending on your knowledge of the stars. And we can talk about this a little later into the show. Subconsciously, though, folks, Christians have chosen this to represent their particular doctrines and religious teachings. Like I just said earlier, the fish, you see fishes on people's cars, it represents Christianity. Neptune is also a deceiving planet, and it, like I said, rules the Middle East and the oil industry. It has a very a destructive belief power and used in the negative. And I've always said this before on my show. Anything can be done positive or negative. Every sign has positive and negative. It doesn't matter if you're Pisces and Aries and Leo. We all have positive and negative. We need to learn what our negatives are so we can grow to be better people. That's why there's the importance of a full life reading is important for many, because it kind of gets to know your own psyche. And once you get to know your own psyche and how you tick, it can kind of help you through the years and say, okay, I'm one of those people that does this or that, I better not do that, or I better do this. But this also rules warfare. It rules religious warfare that's plaguing the world in the name of deities. It's in the name of religion, doctrines, the belief system. Here's a perfect one, ISIS. Can you not be more Neptunian and evil and deceptive and destructive than ISIS? All in the name of Allah? You know, I feel sorry for Allah, because Allah's probably sitting up there in heaven shaking his head going, just like Christ, going, what the hell happened? Of course, I believe that they're all one and the same, but that's my opinion. One universe. What people need to remember is that we are an entire universe. We are one people, one earth, one people, meaning there should be no dividing between Christian, you're a Jew, and this and that, and we divide each other. No, we're all one, and we all pray to the same God, whether that God is Jehovah, Christ, Allah, Odin and Freya, Kuan Yin, doesn't matter. Well, it's all connected to a universal God. Anyway, there is something that my audience, I want you to think about right now, and that is Pisces, which Neptune is the fish, symbol Christianity. I explained this before. And this also represents dreams. It's the water element, and it's also unpractical. This is the most unpractical sign in the zodiac. You are the complete opposite of the most practical sign in the zodiac. And I'll get to who it is and what it is in a minute. There is no accident for this sign and this planet, Neptune, for the Christians to subconsciously choose the fish. Now, this is the unpractical sign. it's up against the most practical sign in the zodiac, which is Capricorn, practical earth sign, Saturn, which the goat has taken on as the head of evil or the devil, or as I like to call it, progress in science. That's a better term. Capricorns are not evil. Goats are not evil. But subconsciously, the Christians chose this symbol, the goat, as the head of the devil. It makes perfect sense to me. It may not make perfect sense to you, but maybe in time it will. And feel free to ask me any questions. That's what I'm here for. So you have pretty much God and the devil of the zodiac in some ways. You know, the deception of religion and then the dark side of Capricorn and Saturn. Now, that doesn't mean Capricorns are evil or anything, but what it does represent here is, you know, you have Christianity and Capricorn, evil and satanic. Now, I will say this, on the Saturnian Capricorn realm, an evil side to this would be the Illuminati. The Illuminati is Saturnian. It is the head of the devil. Okay? Makes sense. And it's been in place for thousands and thousands of years. Wherever anyone, and whether you're in the chat room tonight listening or listening to me, wherever any of you have Pisces and Neptune in your chart, all of us, including myself, we are more prone to deceive ourselves and even attract deceitful and negative elements such as drugs, chemicals, alcohol into our life. Wherever this planet Neptune sits in one's chart, and I'm not saying this to be mean because I have it sitting in one of my charts too, just like, you know, the guy in my chat room has it in the chart. And we all have this sitting in a house somewhere. Wherever you have this planet placed in your astrology chart, you are bound to be used, abused, deceived, manipulated, and possibly drugged. Remember, too, that wherever this planet is placed, this is also going to make you very impractical. As impractical as one can be. And we must always try to swim up to the right, not down with the rest of the masses. Now, I always talk about a dragon head and tail energy. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this after the Pisces forecast. But for Pisces right now, you have this energy of a Libra Aries universal energy that's cruising through the universe right now. It's affecting great many people. Right now, this energy is really hunting for Aries and Libras. And unfortunately, it's also hunting for Scorpio and Taurus because it's affecting Scorpio's house of health, service to the world, and even though the Taurus, even though the head may be on the 12th house, it's affecting you really bad. I'm getting told that we have no sound. I don't know if that's true, but I'm typing it in now. I hope not. I'm going to keep talking. I hope we have sound. I hope what I just said got heard, because that would really be sad. Okay, we have sound. Okay, I'm assuming we have sound. That sounds like Chris George is telling me we have sound. Okay, well, I'm going to move on now. Sorry about that, folks. Well, hi. Okay, here we go. So for Pisces, you have this energy in the Libra Aries. This is affecting your second house of wealth and possessions and self-esteem. And this is an Aries. The Tarot is writing right there. You have weather energy right in your 8th house, And this is life, death, this is sex, this is other people's resources, this is loans and inheritances. This energy has been with all of us since February 19th of 2014, and it remains here until August 19th of 2015. What does this all mean? What does this mean for Pisces? Well, here we go. Let's break this down just a little bit for you. When the universal energy moves into the north and south nodes of the moon to this kind of axis, and the energies take place in a certain housing system, every sign in the zodiac is affected by this energy in a different house. I'll use myself as an example. The tail's in my fourth house. My fourth house represents home. It represents family. It represents emotions. It represents mother. And there are some issues in my own personal life with those issues. Right now, I won't get into great detail, but it's affecting me, and it's probably affecting a lot of Capricorns out there. So Pisces, it's affecting your second house. The tail is right there, so things may not be going very well in the realm of finances somewhat, wealth, possessions. Pisces may be struggling with self-esteem and stuff. Realize that this is a phase, and it's going to pass, and the energy will shift, and it will change, and it will get better for a great many of you. Realize this, though, especially Pisces. I want you to hear me. Your own will within yourself is more powerful and stronger than any stars. It's how you choose to use it. You have to rise above it, and it's hard. I know. I suffer from depression myself, and at certain times when I'm feeling extremely depressed, I just get out my ephemeris calendar and I look and I go, oh, that explains a good bit. I'm hoping you guys have sound. Now, I have one person saying they have sound. I have Chris George saying he can't hear me. So, but my beautiful friend Bella in Yonkers can hear me. So, I guess that's all that matters, right? Okay, the sound is good. All right, we're in business. Okay, so where was I? Okay, so what I'm trying to say to Pisces is that this energy will pass. Now, you have the head of the dragon in the 8th house, which for Pisces, your 8th house is Libra. And remember, folks, we may be Scorpios and Pisces and Capricorns, but we are the whole entire zodiac. And that's the beauty of my method of astrology compared to others. I'll explain more about that later. This universal energy for Pisces is going to move. Those north and south nodes of the moon are going to move into a Virgo-Pisces axis. That's going to happen on August 19th of 2015. You're going to see this shift in energy. And this is going to stay with Pisces till November, I believe. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say the 17th of 2017. But I know the energy changes in November of 2017. This energy will be hunting directly for Virgos and Pisces. Now, depending on one's karma, it can either be positive or negative. And the only way you're going to be able to find that out, unfortunately, is through a full life reading. AlphaStarRadio.com is my website. You know where to find me. I'm not going to mince words with you, Pisces, because I wouldn't be true to myself and I wouldn't be true to you if I gave you all the good news and I didn't touch on the bad news. And you have to hear it. And I'm doing it because I care. This energy is going to be right on your first house, moving into August 19th of 2015. This is your house of self and soul's purpose in its negative state. So, meaning, you better follow the universal laws that are put in place 10,000 plus years ago. Watch the moon, watch those platonic phases, and watch yourself. Many of you will suffer severe depression and turn to chemicals and drugs and run to the psychiatrist and get on this and get on that. And I strongly urge you not to do that. I'm not a doctor, but I have a real issue with pharmaceuticals and drugs like that. I see way too many little kids doped up on Ritalin and this drug and that drug, and it's just, it's not good. And that's just my opinion. You may not agree with me, and that's fine. That's your choice. You wouldn't see my kids on any of that. Now, Pisces, you are a water sign. Your ruler is the feet. You regenerate with water. So when you get in those depressing moods, and I have a dragon's head in Pisces. There's a lot of Pisces in my chart. I get those too. Nothing more therapeutic than water. Whether it's through, going to the beach, if you have access to that, going to a river, a lake, a stream, heck, if you like to swim in a swimming pool, it's water. If weather permits, and I know this isn't possible for most of my friends on the East Coast or in the Midwest because it's so cold, but if weather permits, best way for Pisces to heal thyself is to get those feet, those tootsies, in the water. Let the sand hit your feet. Let earth hit your feet and let the water hit your feet. I guarantee you will feel better after you come out of the water. And if you are in an area where there is, it's too cold to do that, just go to the water. Look out into the unknown, the lake, the stream. Nothing is more therapeutic than being in nature. Just my advice to you. B12, those of you that suffer from depression, I'm going to tell you, B12 has saved my life. I pop one every day. It really helps, and I'm sure there are other things out there holistically that can really help depression. We don't have time in this broadcast to go over that. Maybe one of these days I will have a holistic doctor on in the near future, and we can talk about all kinds of things that we can do as human beings to help us. Unfortunately, with this next dragon energy coming in the Virgo Pisces, you're going to see a very big increase in suicides because of this. So if you need help, don't hesitate to contact me. Just get help. I don't care who it's from. I have good news, though, for Pisces. I always end with the good. You have Jupiter in Leo, and this is cruising through until August 11th of 2015. Jupiter's been with you since July 15th. And this is being placed right on your 6th house of service to the world. What this means is, Pisces, you've been given the opportunity to shine with your chosen path. And if you have any health problems, they really aren't, they may be minor in detail, because Jupiter is going to help Pisces souls to bounce back sooner and faster. Jupiter, 6th house. Now, this energy does change for you, Pisces, and that changes on August 12th of 2015. And Jupiter will move into Virgo, and this will be right on Pisces' 7th house of marriage, partnerships, and contracts. Now, for some Pisces, there may be wedding bells the later half of the year and into 2016. The Lord of Luck, which is Jupiter, is going to bless you in signing any kind of contracts and partnerships. Business endeavors will be favored. But what am I going to say? Don't sign anything unless it's in a waxing moon. I hope I've answered a lot of your questions out there about Pisces. And like I said, alphastarradio@gmail.com is always... Thank you, Chris. Is always... I remember, I lost my whole train of thought reading Chris George's post. I am always here for you. alphastarradio@gmail is always... a place to go to contact me if you have questions. If you have a question and you're embarrassed to put it out here in the chat, private message me. There is no stupid questions. Trust me. I've been a student before. And I have to tell you, if someone would have said to me, Linda, in 20 years from now, at 25, if someone would have said to me, oh, when you're 45, you're going to be an astrologer, I would have said, get out of here. I would have said, no way. Now, it wasn't that I wasn't into the stars. It's just I found modern astrology incredibly boring. It was inaccurate. It didn't seem to, and it didn't mean I didn't walk a metaphysical path. It was very busy with my coven and my broom sisters and my magic and my tarot cards, and astrology just never really did anything for me. And it wasn't until I met my teacher and heard him on Coast to Coast that I go, I can wrap my head around this. This makes sense. It must be because I'm an old soul. So I forget that I've been doing this for such a long time that a great many of you out there who have come, who are here at DTM, may not know exactly the type of astrology that I practice. So I'm going to explain it to you. Now, I'm not a modern astrologer. I practice the divine method of astrology. This is the Nostradamus method. It uses the tropical zodiac. This method is free from any kind of mathematical jargon or terminology. You very rarely hear me speak of degrees. You won't ever hear me say, oh, that Chris George, he's a Sagittarius at 30 degrees. I will never say that. I'm using you as an example, Mr. Chris George. I very rarely speak of degrees, and I won't do that because then I turn into a scientific astronomer. No, there's nothing wrong with astronomers, don't get me wrong, but when you focus on one thing, especially in the modern astrology world, you focus on one thing, you miss the entire forest because you're focusing on one tree. Think about this. 500 years ago, did Nostradamus have a computer? No, he did not. He did not have a computer. He used an ephemeris, his intuition and his psychic abilities. The beauty of the divine method is that it's deadly accurate and very simple to assimilate. I guarantee you I could probably teach each and every one of you how to do this. It's very simple. It's very easy to do. Divine specializes in the north and south nodes of the moon. It specializes in the housing system. When I talk about a dragon's head and tail, I am referring to the north and south nodes of the moon. And trust me, you always want to ride the dragon's head because the tail is no place for a human being to be. Trust me on that. Now, the divine, like I said, specializes in the north and south nodes of the moon. While modern astrology is just that, it's modern astrology. You have over 85 different ways to run a chart. I prefer to go back to basics. What I mean by that, I mean ancient astrology, the Nostradamus method, the Vedic method, which is the Indian method of astrology, and the Chinese method. This has been practiced. These three methods of astrology have been practiced for many thousands of years. And it's the original science of astronomy. Astronomy is simply, as my teacher would call it, a byproduct of astrology. It is. Because 10,000 years ago, you didn't have scientists, you didn't have astronomers, you didn't have any of that. We look to the Mayans, they were probably one of the very good, accurate astronomers of their time. When we look back at history and whatnot, the Mayans were incredibly, incredibly talented at reading the stars and doing all the astronomical forecasts and whatnot. Incredible. We really need to go back to basics and focus on the whole picture and not just the little things. But the Vedic method of astrology, which it refers to the science of light, A lot of astrologers now don't believe that this is even usable, and I don't agree with that. I have a couple of friends in India who practice this method, and things are a little off, but not everything. The one thing about the method of astrology that I practice is the dragon head and tail will never change. The north and south nodes of the moon are fixed, and they stay fixed, and they change only every 18 months. Never changes like it does with, you got the moon moving through a sign every 2.5 days, or a planet moving through a sign every year. Dragon's head and tail stays stable for 18 months, then it shifts. I have found that knowing where you're placing your dragon's head and tail is probably more on cue and more accurate than the rest of your entire zodiac and stars. Not everything. And I'll give you a perfect example, and I've used this example before. A couple of years ago, I was at my kid's classroom, and one of the room moms was there. I was there, and another mom came in. She had just gotten off work, and we were talking. I don't know how we got on the subject of astrology and the stars, and she says, well, I'm an Aquarius. And I said, are you a January Aquarius or a February Aquarius? She said, no, I'm February, and she gave me her birth date. And I said, so let me take a guess here. You probably work in the food industry. I said, some kind of cook or chef or waitress. She was on a caterer. So it's very simple. I want you to count on your fingers. Yes, count on your fingers. February, March, April, May, June, July. July. Her sixth house becomes Cancer. Cancers are pretty much the domestic goddesses of the kitchen. They're the mother of the zodiac. They rule food. Makes perfect sense that her service to the world is in catering. Makes sense to me. It may not make sense to all of you, but it does make sense to me. Now, I've given my show a lot of thought now that I'm done talking. I hope I answered all your questions about my method of astrology. No, I'm not a modern astrologer, but I'm pretty much out of material on that subject. I wanted to make it short and sweet, kind of give you guys a briefing on the type of astrology that I do. And the reason I'm bringing this up is I've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this since, 2011. And I've had these moments where I feel like quitting doing this. I feel like my other radio show was more rewarding than this one. And I know that's a terrible thing to say to my listening audience out there. But most of you remain very silent. Nobody asks questions. I feel kind of like, why waste my time on my wisdom and my knowledge that I've been taught for people who don't give a rat's ass? I'm not saying that about all of you out there. There's people that are in the chat right now that are with me every week. And those are my loyal listeners, and I love you guys very much. You've been with me from the get-go. There are some of you out there that have been with me since 2011 and followed me over from AM station to network to network to network. I've also thought about keeping the show and eliminating the astrology out of it because it's not really serving me any purpose except for helping a few people that want the help. Most of you out there, I think that, and I'm trying to choose my words very tactfully right now without coming off as a jerk, but I have bills to pay, I have children to feed, and I cannot continue to keep giving free readings to people. And so, you have no idea the energy that it takes to go in and look at your chart, meditate on it, channel on it, focus on it, and then write a whole thing up on it, and then do a phone or Skype interview with you, that takes a lot of time. And what that's doing is it's taking time away from my children. It's taking time away from my family. And frankly, and I'm going to quote a scripture here, and it's something my teacher used to say, and I never understood what he meant by it. Oh my God, now I know. Stop giving peril to swine. Now, I'm not saying people are swine. Some of you out there are takers, and you take, and you take, and you take, and you never give back. Okay, and in the meantime, my bills are stacking up. I should be working out there, and I'm dealing with doing this, that, and the other for people who aren't really appreciative of it. You know, and then when something goes wrong, they want my time. Well, you know, you should have let me give you a progressive reading, and then you would have known what to do when the time came. But that doesn't mean, my close friends who are listening to me, that does not refer to any of you out there, and you know that. Just sometimes there are certain people that are mentally draining and exhausting. And when it takes time away from my children, because they're only young once and they're only kids once, it gets a little frustrating, to say the least. Now, I've thought about breaking down my website because it's just, there's nothing. Nothing goes through there. People don't go to it, or people don't look at it. Why even keep it up? It's another financial burden and expense for me. So I haven't set this in stone yet, and I'd kind of like some feedback from you. But I am thinking of taking this show from ancient astrology and just making it paranormal research. And I'll eliminate the astrology, and I will not share the wisdom and the knowledge that I've been taught, and I'll keep it for my own selfish self. I don't want to do that. The humanitarian in me doesn't want to do that, because by nature it is not me. That isn't how I operate. I'm always there to help others. But there comes a time when I have to say, enough is enough. I haven't made any decisions yet, and it's not going to happen right away if I do make these decisions. But sometimes I just feel like I'm wasting my time. Like if nobody's learning from it, I don't know. So I want feedback from all of you. Whether it's email, whether it's to Tiffany and Denny, I want to know what you think. Because I'm not going to keep doing notes and getting material together to read your forecast if it's just a waste of time. I know that sounds harsh. And you know, it took a friend of mine who I consider, she's my birth sister. She was so blatant with me the other day. I needed it. I needed to hear it. And she said something to me that really resonated with me. And she says, stop being the Italian mama that helps everybody. I said, what the hell do you mean by that? She says, no. She goes, it's you. She says, you're there for everybody. You're the Italian mama. Let me get you this. Let me help you this. And she goes, and it rolls right into the metaphysical for you. She says, and you're spending hours on end dealing with people that really aren't that appreciative of it, and you're wasting precious time not being with your kids when you should be with your kids or doing something that you enjoy. She made me realize some things, that I've pretty much been a doormat for a great many people, and that isn't going to happen anymore. I'm done with that. Doesn't mean I don't want to help people, but I know. Someone just said, a time spent teaching is never a waste of time, but you're absolutely right. I think you need a good marketing strategy. Well, yes, I think I do too. And it just seems like it's certain people that are reoccurring in my life that are draining on me. And my blood sister knows who these people are, because I had a long talk with her the other night. There aren't too many people I feel comfortable opening up to, but this particular lady I do. We're good friends, and she has been on the show before. With that being said, I have a lot to think about in the next several months. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon, don't worry. You guys will still get your forecast once a month. And I did take last week off because I'm sorry, I needed a mental holiday. I needed a break from both shows. I just needed a weekend where I wasn't getting material, researching anything on the paranormal or the metaphysical, and I needed the other night so that I wasn't listening to music all night and clipping tracks and looking at them and making sure they were, in accordance with the network. It's just, I needed a break. But I'm back this week, and next week I have a really great guest on for you. It is a pre-record. I'll be recording that show this week on Tuesday, I believe. I will be in the chat room. My guest probably will not be there, but I'm going to be having Elias Castillo on. Elias Castillo is a writer, author, journalist, and he has just published a book called The Cross of Thorns. And this talks about the enslavement of the Native American people in California. I already prepared my big New York and California Italian family for this, because as you all know, I was raised in a big Italian Catholic family. And so when I talked to one of my relatives, I said, I'm not having this man on to bring disgrace to the Catholic Church itself. I'm more or less bringing this person on to raise awareness. And this is where I'm going with this. As a parent, I had to do this 2 days ago I did this. I was on a field trip with my kid to San Juan Bautista, which is a mission. And there's this big picture of Junipero Serra, which the Pope is getting ready to canonize for sainthood. This man does not, I'm sorry, and I mean no disrespect to the Catholic people or Catholicism in general, but this man has no business being sainted. The beauty of this book that Mr. Castillo has written is that he has legal documentation and proof within the book that this is happening, or this has had happened, because this happened back in like the late 1700s when all of this started happening. And I cannot continue to take my kids on field trips to these events, especially with my children being of not only Italian descent, but of Native American descent, and continue to cram a lie down my kids' throats. I won't, and I can't do it. And the California educational system needs to shape up and change what it's teaching their children, because you're not teaching your curriculum in school here in California. You are not teaching them the facts. And they need to know the facts. People need to know the truth. This isn't a put down on the church or Catholicism or anything like that. I mean, the man who wrote the book, if that's my understanding, he's a Catholic. And he wrote the book because the truth has to get out there. So that is my show for next week. It's going to be very good, and I'm very excited to have him on. And I will advertise it with a link where you can read a little bit more about it. But like I said, as a parent, I'm very sick of having to deal with doing the missions and having to explain to my kids that's not the entire truth. And I kind of find it funny when the park rangers sit there and say, and 1,800 natives became Christians that day. Well, yeah. Well, what happened to the rest of them? I want to know that story. Why don't you tell that story? Junipero Father Serra is a murderer. He did heinous things. He did vindictive and cruel things to the natives. And there's legal documentation of it. There's also explorers who came here to visit that when they went back to Europe wrote about what the atrocities that they had witnessed. What took place in these California missions is no better than what took place in the Caribbean with the African people way back then. And here's a movie that'll make you ring a bell that correlates to it, the movie Amistad. Go watch that movie. Okay? It's no different. The genocide that has been done. It's no different than Auschwitz. it's genocide is genocide, whether you hide under a Nazi regime, whether you hide under the Catholic regime, whatever you want to call it. The truth has to come out. And in time it will, and I guarantee you in about 20 years from now, there will not be a Columbus Day. One state of Washington, has already gotten rid of it, and there's now, I think it's Indigenous Day. I know I have a lot of family that's probably pissed off because that's a big holiday for them and blah, 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 blah. It has nothing to do with our race, you guys. It has to do with the truth. You know, it's just the truth that needs to get out there. And I think Elias is going to be an awesome guest next week. It's going to be something amazing. And there is a big protest on April 5th, which is Easter Sunday. For those of you in the 831 area code that are interested, it is sponsored by AIM, which is the American Indian Movement. And there's a protest in front of the Carmel Mission where Father Sarah is buried. And it's going to be a big turnout with a lot of protesters. And unfortunately, some of you will be at your Sunday service and will have to walk by us in the walk of shame. But that's okay. I stand strong with my Native sisters and brothers in this to get the truth out. Thanks for listening to me tonight, you guys. I will return next week. I hope you guys have an awesome weekend. Light and love to all. I'm out of here. Good night.
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please enter your host PIN. When finished, press the pound key.
To start your show now, press 1.
Your show is scheduled to start in 3 minutes, 50 seconds.
How do I add people to the call? I don't remember how to do this.